Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jean Millet, and I am the founder of Mission First Partners.
And I'm Amanda Coleman, the founder and executive director of Irish Angel.
And we'd both like to welcome you to Twilight 2021.
Absolutely. Thank you all for being here. It's so important that we have the love and support to launch Twilight 2021.
Now, Amanda, I know you've got some pretty exciting news for everybody coming up this week. Mm-hmm. Well, I should say you've already put out a very nice email about it, but I thought you might like to tell everybody about your new website.
Yeah, we're going to be launching it on the 1st of January. So I'm excited about that. It was supposed to launch actually tomorrow, but we're going to hold off with the holidays and everything else. We're just going to wait and launch it at the beginning of the year.
That's understandable. Well, I just wanted to give everybody a little backstory on the origins of Twilight. Twilight actually started in 2019 with one radio broadcast, remembering a moment of silence for those we lost. And the reason it started was in 2019, unfortunately, the Nashua, New Hampshire Police Department lost a captain to suicide, John Lita. And they were very, very open about it, as was his family. They wanted everybody to know the story of what had happened. And when at his funeral services, there was a terrific turnout. It was just like a line of duty funeral. So we started talking about what we could do to sort of keep that momentum going on law enforcement mental health. And what we did that first year in 2019 was Twilight. And as I said, that first year, it was one radio transmission from the Franklin, New Hampshire Police Department calling for a moment of silence. And then in 2020, when I started Mission First Partners, that was our first order of business to have a formal Twilight remembrance. And originally, it was supposed to be just a local event for New Hampshire law enforcement. And at last minute, we got hung up because of the COVID pandemic restrictions. So we had to move it to being virtual, but it was actually the best thing that could have happened to us, because it being virtual, we realized we could open it to so many more people. And that's the reason I'm here with Amanda today.
Indeed. And I'm delighted to be here, and I'm glad that you asked us to be a part of this. It's something that's very close to our hearts, as you know. We do everything we can to try and prevent suicide being the only option. So it seemed a no-brainer once you asked us to be a part of it. So we're delighted.
So on your post this morning, somebody left what I thought was a really great, really telling quote. He said, "A moment of silence to pay respect to those who are forever silent."
Yeah.
And that really is what we're trying to do with this. We're trying to create a memorial to the forgotten. And of course, they were never forgotten by their families. They were never forgotten by the people that loved them. But in many ways, they were forgotten by the world. There is no monument we can go to pay our respects to them. Like we can for line of duty injuries. There's no place for the families to tell their stories. There's no place where we can make people understand what it's like living with post-traumatic stress, about the little pieces of yourself that this job takes every day that you eventually stop getting back until you lose so many of them that you don't even know who you are anymore. Twilight tries to give all of that to them. We want to try to give people a place to grieve and a place to tell their stories and a place to heal with other people that have gone through the same kind of thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They should never be forgotten. You know, just because someone took their own life doesn't mean that their life was any less valuable than an officer who died in line of duty. A lot of their trauma comes from their job, or if not from their job, the job has triggered it. So, you know, it should be technically classed as a line of duty death, but it's sadly not. And we need to honor them because they deserve it. They sacrifice so much, including their mental health, and pay the ultimate sacrifice for us. So it's the least we can do. And I think this should be an annual event, and just love and lift on those who are left behind because their death is not in vain, it's because of people dying through suicide that it's made organizations like us, it's brought us into fruition, because we want to help. We want to help prevent suicide being the final option. So, they did not die in vain.
Yeah.
It's encouraged more and more resources out there for people. So it's you can always get a positive of sadly something so tragic. So, and that is to help other people.
And that if we can make anything good out of these tragedies, that's the one thing we can do good, to get those stories out there, to get people thinking about these things. When I talk, one of the things that I always talk about is 2019, because that was a real watershed year for law enforcement. In that 1 year, we had line of duty deaths, almost the lowest they've ever been, and yet we had suicides, the highest they've ever been. And it gets even more stark when you break it down to felonious versus accidental deaths, because in 2019, we lost 48 law enforcement officers to homicide. We lost 228 to suicide. Let that sink in for a minute. We kill ourselves at 4.5 times the rate the bad guys kill us at. That has to stop. We cannot keep going on like this. And now in the last year, that gap has started to narrow. And on one side, it is good because suicides are going down. Unfortunately, what's also narrowing that gap on the other side is that line of duty deaths are going up substantially. So the way these numbers move year to year, it can really just be heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's for sure. It is something that's so tragic, and you hate seeing it. Like, I hate seeing any death within law enforcement. I absolutely do. But when I see that somebody has died through suicide, to say it goes against the bone is an understatement, because realistically, no one has to fight alone. And to think that they were in that headspace of, where they thought there was no help out there, they thought that they couldn't talk to anybody, and they were fighting alone. That upsets me, to think that that they felt that way, when realistically it would have just taken one phone call, one click, just to be able to reach out for help. It's a temporary, what do they say? It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. But we have to try be there as much as possible as we can for those who are suffering in crisis, because it's an ever-growing thing, and especially with the rhetoric on law enforcement right now, on top of what's already a stressful job, and everything that's going against them, they get it from everywhere. So it makes their job even more difficult than it was previously. So we have to try and at least have the proper resources out for them to reach out to get help.
And that's what we're trying to do. Groups like mine, groups like yours, we know when somebody is teetering on that edge of suicide, we have a very, very small window of opportunity to pull them back in. And that's why we're trying to put everything into that window that we possibly can, all the resources that we can put out there to bring them back in.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I just wanted to bring up is, if you could catch somebody who is teetering right on that edge of suicide and they don't know if they're going to do it or not, what would you tell them to try to pull them back in?
I think it's very, very difficult to answer that question, because you always have to gauge somebody's what mood they're in. You could be have that aggressive tone to where you're like, God damn it, you get over here and you help them. And then it really just it depends on the person's mental state and how you address them properly. Everybody is different. And I've been there. I've actually spoken to someone who was in that crisis situation, kept them on the phone, and had to get the police to their home. So again, I always imagined that it would be softly, but it wasn't. And I'm just glad that I was at the other end of that call and could do what I did. So I think it's very difficult to say, you'd act a certain way. I think you have to judge it on somebody's their mental well-being and how they are toward you. You can always judge it by how they're speaking to you. So yeah, I think everybody is different. You just got to watch out for the signs. Listen. That's the best thing you can do, is listen and pick up on somebody's mood. It could be the smallest little thing that somebody mightn't even think of that somebody is saying to you, but you'll recognize it. I've lived a life through that, through my family, what happened within my own family, because mental health and PTS was every day in my life. So I was very aware of them situations and how to react, and every time it was different. So yeah.
And that is true, and that's what I try to tell people. There's no script for doing this when you're dealing with somebody that's right in there. We can give you guidelines, we can give you some education on how to deal with it, but so much of it is just making that connection with that person.
Exactly.
One thing I've said, and of course we're in the Christmas holidays, so I don't want it to sound like it's a wonderful life or anything like that, but I said the one thing I always wish I could do is I wish I could try to show them what life is going to be like, not if they never existed, but what life is going to be like if you do this.
Yeah.
Families that are going to spend the rest of their lives asking themselves, why wasn't I enough to keep them here? The friends and the coworkers that are going to torture themselves to think that there's something they could have picked up on, something they could have found that would have stopped this. And the truth is, a lot of times when you're talking about law enforcement, there are no signs, because we in law enforcement, we're taught from the first day in the academy to have mastery over our emotions. So we do that even when we're in these kinds of depths of despair.
Yeah, that's a fact. You're a master of disguise, as they say. Yep. But and even aside from that, you'd love to show them what could have happened if they had looked out for help. How better off their life would be, aside from their families and their loved ones. Obviously, that's a given. But we know that we can't get on with our lives unless we love ourselves. And I think for a lot of that, they lost that. They didn't care about themselves enough to fight, and to continue fighting. That's the wrong thing to say, to continue fight, because they fight demons every single day. Every day, for somebody who's suffering through depression, PTS, mental health issues. And again, I've lived through this. Every day is a struggle. Every day is something new. It's a different emotion. It's a different, how you are towards people, the loneliness, the hypervigilance, everything. It's just, you're on edge constantly. And nobody knows, like you said, because police officers have this ability to mask everything. Nobody within your family or anybody else would know what's going on behind that mask. And I do feel real bad for the families, because there is that question. You'll always have that guilt associated with somebody committing suicide, because you do ask yourself those questions. Could I have done more? What could I have done to help them? And that's such a difficult thing, but it's not their fault. They had nothing to do with this. This was something that was bigger than them. This was a war that was raging on in somebody's mind, and unless you're qualified to be able to help, I mean, there was nobody going to step in if they didn't know what was going on. And that's what happens when somebody takes their lives. Nobody can step in because nobody knows.
And that's why I think it's so important for us to reach out to each other and take care of each other, because we know what it's like. I know how easy, when the demons come every night, I know how easy it is to kind of get into the point where you just want to say, you know what, tonight's going to be the last night they come. And I understand how easy it is to slip into that, which is why I think we have to pay so much attention to each other and make sure we're all doing okay. And I think that's where we finally start to change things.
Yeah, it's opening up that dialogue. It's difficult conversations that needs to be had. And whether we like it or we don't like it, it's something. Communication is key. Without communication, there's nothing. you do start to experience that loneliness, that isolation and everything else, because we are that in our own mind. But if you have that communication, you can talk to somebody you trust, whether it be
guys.
Yes. Yeah, I know Hudson's cutting in. I don't want to cut you off, Amanda, but we're
Sorry,
right.
Amanda.
No, you're fine.
We're right at 3:19, so we're going to begin our Twilight Memorial. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. Amanda?
Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate you.
Welcome to Twilight 2021.
Hi, this is Governor Chris Sununu. On this winter solstice, we pause to remember the lives of law enforcement officers tragically cut short due to suicide, PTSD, and other mental health conditions. Every life lost to these tragic circumstances, it is one too many, and no individual should face mental health challenges alone. Here in New Hampshire, we are hard at work to change the culture surrounding mental and emotional health. Just this April, the Department of Safety launched their new Wellness and Resiliency Program. Now, this program takes a transformational approach that seeks to prioritize physical, mental, and emotional health for every employee. Our teams are working to foster a climate where employees feel comfortable speaking openly with their peers about their mental health or their well-being without fear of judgment. And through this program, our next generation of leaders are being taught to better recognize mental health challenges and to provide individuals with the support and the resources that they need. Today's a reminder to be sure to take time to check in on yourself, your peers, and those in your community. Remember, we're all in this together.
Hello, I'm Jean Shaheen, and I'm honored to join Mission First Partners for this virtual memorial as we recognize law enforcement officers we've lost to suicide. New Hampshire's law enforcement community is second to none, and you always step up to every challenge presented to you. The nature of your work exposes you to significant health risk factors and other job-related stressors which could result in depression, anxiety, or other mental illness. And too often, there aren't any signs of trauma or mental illness until it's too late. The statistics are staggering. In 2020, we lost approximately 4 times more law enforcement officers to suicide than to line of duty deaths in the United States. Post-traumatic stress disorder and other mental health challenges are issues we can solve together, and it starts by recognizing the signs that someone is struggling. Addressing mental health among our law enforcement was brought to my attention by a New Hampshire police chief a few years ago, following the heartbreaking loss of one of their own, and I've made it a priority through my work in the Senate. Mental illness is real. There should be no shame in recognizing it and asking for help. And let me be clear, the wounds we can't see should be treated with the same urgency and seriousness as those that we can. I'm encouraged that many of our departments in New Hampshire have stepped up and created programs to address mental health. Through this effort, we're erasing the stigma and establishing resources for those who need assistance. Please protect yourselves and your brother and sister officers by recognizing when help is needed. I will continue to do everything I can in Congress to support you every step of the way. Thank you once again to Mission First partners, and thank you to all of New Hampshire's law enforcement professionals for what you do day in and day out. I wish you and your families a happy and safe holiday season.
Hello, I'm Senator Maggie Hassan. Law enforcement officers in New Hampshire serve valiantly to keep our communities safe. Each day, these men and women put themselves in harm's way to protect others, and they're on the front lines of some of the biggest challenges facing our state. We must recognize, however, the severe impact that this brave service can have on law enforcement officers, as well as on their families. Too often we see officers experience PTSD and other mental health challenges, which can tragically lead to suicide. As we gather today to remember the lives of those we have lost, we must also recommit to helping officers address mental health challenges. We must be there for them, encouraging them to reach out for help if they need it, and providing resources so that they can get the support that they need. In the Senate, I was proud to support a bipartisan bill, which is now law, to bolster suicide prevention programs and mental health services for law enforcement officers. And it's encouraging to see advocates like Mission First partners who are committed to improving mental health training for these heroes. Thank you to Mission First partners for hosting this event and raising awareness. And to all of the law enforcement officers watching today, my deepest gratitude and thanks for your dedicated service on behalf of your communities and our entire state. Stay safe and keep up the great work.
My name is Joseph Obecki, and I am the Chief of Police for the Hollis, New Hampshire Police Department. I am also the current president of the New Hampshire Association of Chiefs of Police. Today, I wanted to speak to you about the importance of recognizing and caring for our law enforcement guardians who protect and serve communities throughout the state of New Hampshire and across the United States. We remember the sacrifices of so many and mourn the loss of our guardians who have taken their own life over the past year. We know that occupational groups, like police officers, experience heightened levels of stress and trauma and can be at increased risk for long-term healthcare issues such as mental health concerns, psychological disorders, and behavioral issues. Law enforcement officers are often exposed to death, violence, and other forms of human misery. However, it is often not a single incident or event that can lead to catastrophic issues. Often, it is the cumulative effects of such exposures, coupled with the lack of appropriate professional assistance, that can lead to negative outcomes. Regardless of where you work or what agency you work for, we all perform the same job. We are all guardians, and although we may not experience calls with the same frequency of larger, busier agencies, we will all experience trauma and exposure over the course of our careers. Please know that we at the New Hampshire Association of Chiefs of Police feel it is critical to recognize the importance of officer wellness and resiliency, and we, as an organization, commit ourselves to bringing more awareness to the mental and physical well-being of our communities. We pray for those guardians who have left us in 2021 and for their families. Be safe, God bless, and don't be afraid to ask for help. You are not alone, and you are and will be supported.
Good afternoon. I am Richard Wahlberg, chaplain of the Fall River, Massachusetts Police Department and the Massachusetts Police Union Mass Cops. I am flattered to have been asked to participate in Twilight Mission First Partners by Chief Goldstein and John Mullet. I can tell you that Chief Goldstein and John Mullet are two of the most caring, compassionate, comforting, and loving individuals I have known, and this project of theirs is long overdue. We have so many people suffering that need help. Most of us have heard that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. But here's the rub. The troubled officer who commits suicide doesn't believe that it is a temporary problem. It is our task to convince him or her otherwise. Easier said than done. We've heard the different parties involved, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, but let us not forget spouses, husband and wives. That's a big component. In one of our conversations, I remember Chief Goldstein saying it is better to be 1 hour early than 1 minute late. How true. And even more so with troubled officers. If we don't help or get them help 1 hour early, then 1 minute late will be too late. And so I'd like to share with you my own journey. Many people who go into the mental health field profession have had their own demons. Personally, I have suffered with depression my whole life, and it can be excruciating pain. If you ask how did I go on, probably because I feel the need to help others. So in helping others, we're helping ourselves. Also, I've gone through therapy, and I can say that proper medication has been a lifesaver. There's no shame in going for help, and there's no shame in taking meds if it's necessary. So we must reach out to our own family and extended family to do whatever necessary to have them see that suicide indeed is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And hopefully this program can reach thousands. And I'm here for anyone. You can contact me either by texting or calling 401-297-1383. Wishing you all a very happy, healthy, meaningful, and fulfilling holiday season.
Hello, folks. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, United States Army, retired. I retired from the Army 24 years ago, and I've been on the road for the last 24 years, training cops and military in all 50 states. I want to talk to you a minute about suicide. I lost a little brother to suicide. I lost 2 nephews to suicide, many good friends. Now, just real quickly, I'm the author of the book on combat and the book on killing. On killing has been, according to Google Scholar, has been cited over 3,000 times in scholarly work. So just to give you a feel for scholarly credentials, I want to give you an angle on suicide. We're in the middle of a worldwide epidemic of suicide. Every nation, every category, every subgroup, suicides are up. Every age, suicides are up. And of course, especially with law enforcement. But the new factor worldwide is a global epidemic of sleep deprivation. All the old problems are still there. All the old problems are still important, but this is a new factor. One of the best meta studies of suicide tells us not only is sleep deprivation a factor in suicide, it is the most remediable factor. If you've got a potential suicide on your hands, one of the very best things you can give them is a safe place to sleep and a good night's sleep. We live in a world in which we think sleep isn't important. Sleep when you're dead. Well, it's just the opposite. Sleep deprivation makes us stupid. It impairs our judgment. It's equivalent to being drunk. Alcohol and suicide have always been closely related. Alcohol creates impaired judgment. You make a bad decision, never had a chance to rethink it. Well, sleep deprivation does the same thing. It creates this impaired judgment. You make a bad decision, never had a chance to rethink it. I want you to look in your own lives and the lives of others. People say, why? Why did she take her life? Why did he take his life? Well, what about sleep deprivation? Oh, they binge watched the show for the last 4 nights. Oh, he played the new video game for the last 3 nights straight. Oh, he was on social media all night long, night after night. And when we look at this as one of the factors, it keeps jumping up. Parenting 101 for the 21st century. When you send your kid to bed at night, take their cell phone away from them. No laptop in the room, no cell phone in the room. They got to go to the room and sleep. I had a cop come up to me during one of my classes. I train cops in all 50 states, every federal agency. And he said, I had a good girl. He said she was an A student. She said, Dad, it's embarrassing. You don't have to take my phone every night. You can trust me. He said, so I trust her. I let her keep her phone. He said, a little while later, she took her life. He said, my little girl took her life. And we never knew the hell she was living in until we looked at the text messages on her cell phone. Night after night of ceaseless, relentless, vicious bullying. And he can't just ignore that stuff. We're not wired that way. He said it was heartrending to watch her all night long, night after night, trying to stand up for herself, trying to find somebody who would stand up for her. He said, I understood my little girl was bullied to death. What I didn't understand until now, she was sleep deprived, tormented, and bullied to death in front of my eyes. And I let it happen. He said, I can't ignore that text message in the middle of the night. How can we expect our kids to? He said, the one thing on earth I could have done for my little girl is take her phone every night and let her turn off all the bad stuff in this world. Well, who's going to be your mommy? Who's going to make you turn off that bad stuff and get that sleep? Please. This is one factor we can't control. It's one factor we can do something about. My dad started smoking in 1940 when he was 5 years old. He plunked a nickel on the counter, got his first pack of Bull Durham tobacco and rolled his first cigarette and smoked it. Hey, candy rots your teeth. It's his money. Cigarettes are good for you. They didn't know. And the cigarette industry hid the information that was doing harm. Well, now we've got the video game industry and the social media, and we've got online streaming. The head of Netflix said that the number one competitor is not other online providers. The number one competitor is sleep. The commercial policy of Netflix is to steal your sleep. They don't care that it's killing you. They don't care that it's destroying lives. They just want to sell their product, like the tobacco industry selling tobacco to my dad when he was 5 years old. So just understand this one new factor in the equation. As somebody who's lost loved ones, as somebody who's grappling for a way to deal with it, understand it is a worldwide dynamic. There is one new factor, and there's something we can do about it. And believe in who you are. Believe in what you do. The world needs what you've got to give so desperately. As we love our nation, as we love our family, as we love our way of life, we've got to bring ourselves up to 100% performance. And we're in the middle of this tragic epidemic of sleep deprivation. Airline pilots and truck drivers are required to log enough sleep. Over 20 other occupations are required to log enough sleep. Amtrak engineers and nuclear power plant operators. But cops aren't, and that should enrage us. And so when you start looking at the dynamics out there, look at sleep and look at sleep hygiene. Getting good quality sleep. Sleep in a truly dark room. Sleep with a sleep mask on to get that effect. The body produces melatonin. It's a neurotransmitter that allows us to sleep, and it can only produce it in the dark. If you don't sleep in the dark, the body doesn't produce the melatonin that we need to sleep. And so we've got to sleep in the dark, combine it with that sleep mask, get quality sleep, get help getting sleep. There's so many good tools out there. Don't use alcohol to put yourself to sleep. No more than one drink on the way to bed. Using alcohol to put yourself to sleep is terribly counterproductive. There's things that docs can do to help. But folks, just reach out and get help and reach out to others. And one of the things that'll give you just one tiny piece of the puzzle that can make a huge difference is start looking at sleep hygiene and look at giving them sleep. And one other little piece of the equation. We know that service dogs are a major, major tool for PTSD and depression. And it's not just the idea of having a service dog. It costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of training. It's the idea that we were not meant to be alone. And when you've got a service animal there, you're not alone. You're your buddy, your partner. You go to the bathroom with them, they go to the bathroom with you, and you're never truly alone. And that's another thing you can do. When somebody tries to give away their pets, warning signs should be going off, and you should be doing just the opposite. Getting them bonded to that pet, getting them to spend time with that pet, because that's one of those links that we have that can carry us on through. If you got one dog and you leave them at home alone, it's solitary confinement. If you got two dogs and leave them alone at home, they're fine. They're pack animals. They're made to be together, and we are the same. And so as we love our way of life, as we love those loved ones who've taken their lives and gone on beyond us, whose lives have been shortened, just remember there's one little tool that I can put in your toolbox, and that is sleep dynamics. God bless you, and thank you for all that you do. Stay safe. Believe in what you do.
Greetings. I'm David Goldstein, and I'm presently the Chief of Police in the city of Franklin, New Hampshire. I've been a police officer for 42 years, and like many of you during my career, I have seen and done many things. And at times, I've sat back and wondered why people do the things to each other they do. Sadly, on more than one occasion, some of these events have been the suicide of a brother or a sister. There is no doubt that our profession is unique. In fact, there is no analog in modern-day society for modern-day policing. Sadly, but realistically, our profession gives us a front-row seat to every form of stress, crisis, and trauma. On all too many occasions, we do not, or for some reason cannot, take advantage of the services available to support us and guide us during these difficult times. And as a result, for so many of us, suicide and its attendant thoughts and ideas become a reality. So tonight, we pay homage to our dear colleagues who have taken their own lives. We hope at least they have found some sort of peace. For those of us left behind, I pray we continue to carry on and complete our respective missions. I have only one simple wish. As we remember our brothers and sisters and as we celebrate this holiday season, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and above all, stay safe. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Lara LandermanGarber. I'm a clinical psychologist in the state of New Hampshire, and I'm very honored to be a part of Twilight, a time when we remember our men and women in law enforcement who have lost their battle to suicide because of PTSD and other related mental health challenges. I believe it's time, if not overtime, to take mental illness out of the darkness and into the light, from darkness to twilight to light, so that we can actively address the concerns, the pressures, the stresses, the loneliness and despair that the men and women face during these times. I know from practicing with men and women in law enforcement that we can do that together. Mission First Partners offers many programs to help our men and women in law enforcement, and I know that together as communities we can do the same. They serve our communities. It's time that we serve them. Let's try and reach out our hands, lend a shoulder, an ear, keep our eyes open. Let's talk with the men and women in law enforcement. Let's ask them how their days are. Let's offer them a connections of care, so that they don't feel alone, that they know that we are thinking about them as human beings as well as officers of the law. When they come to get our kittens out of the tree, or they come to show up in times of grave emergency, we need to let them know that we appreciate them. And when they're out of uniform, that they have the opportunities and access to mental health services. I am very honored to work with local law enforcement agencies in the state of New Hampshire and across New England, trying to help open up those doors, open up those windows to air out the darkness, to air out the dust, to air out the secrets. Let's make mental health challenges something we all talk about, something as simple as we talk about physical illness. Let's get together. Let's offer the men and women who lost the battles and their families they've left behind joy and hope for the future, so that their legacies are not based in darkness. They come out of the darkness, they come into the twilight, and they come into the light. Thank you, Mission First Partners, and I hope to join hands with all of you to make their legacies be ones of honor, integrity, and compassion. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Sean Kelbreath. I'm a 25-year veteran of New Hampshire law enforcement. I'm currently serving as a sheriff's deputy in Hillsborough County under Sheriff Chris Connolly. I want to take this opportunity tonight to speak to the stigma of mental health and mental health well-being within the thin blue line in the first responder community. I wanted to remind those that may not know that many police officers and first responders go home with unseen wounds that are often uncared for, wounds that may fester and end up, in the worst of circumstances, someone taking their life in the line of duty. Now, slowly but surely, we are making steps in the right direction in the state of New Hampshire, with peer-to-peer counseling, resiliency training, and just making connections within the community, which allow the thin blue line and police officers to seek the help they need and get the help that they so deserve. So tonight, at this vigil, as the sun goes down, let's hope that there's a new dawn where police officers feel comfortable seeking the help that they need, so that they're not isolated and feeling alone and in despair. We must protect those that help protect us. If we don't, who will? So go out in your community, make connections, say hello to your police officers, let them know you care about them and their mental health and well-being. Get outside, enjoy some fresh air, be amongst friends and peers, and show police officers that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not go it alone. After all, it's all about thriving, not just surviving. Thank you, and God bless New Hampshire law enforcement.
Good evening. My name is Justin Breton, and I am the Mental Health and Wellness Coordinator at the Manchester, New Hampshire Police Department. Tonight, we are honored to gather with friends, family, and colleagues from all over the country as we reflect on the law enforcement lives lost to PTSD, suicide, and other service-related mental illness. Now, more than ever, peer support programs and mental health and wellness programs are needed within our profession to ensure that we are taking care of those who take care of others. If you or anyone you know ever find yourselves in need of assistance, please remember that you are not alone, and we will listen. We'd like to thank our friends at Mission First Partners for helping us draw light to this very important topic, and we'd like to thank you for making time to reflect with us on the lives of our colleagues that have been lost. Stay safe, stay healthy, and take care of each other. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda Coleman, and I'm the Executive Director of Irish Angel. We are a non-profit for law enforcement, first responders and veterans suffering with PTSD, mental health and addictions. The reason why I'm here today is to honour your loved ones. I need you to know that their sacrifice was not in vain. And that's exactly what it was. It was a sacrifice. They gave up their lives to work within the communities, to be protectors, when realistically they were the ones that needed protecting. But because they were in that position, they felt they couldn't reach out because they're the ones that's supposed to look after everybody else. But I want you to know that Irish Angel was grown because of the amount of suicide and mental health and addictions within the services, and how we want to fundamentally help everybody that we can reach when it comes to these issues, including you. So grief brings a whole other world of trauma. And if you're struggling, please reach out to us at Irish Angel, because we have resources at hand that can help you with your grief. I know what that's like firsthand, especially now with the holiday season coming up. I lost a brother, not through suicide, but I did lose a brother in '93. And I know what that's like. And I know what it's like to have an empty seat at the table and not have the laughter of a full family, and to think on those things that you're missing. And that's difficult. My one piece of advice is to you is this: keep their memory alive. Talk good about them. Talk about the good times. Laugh about them. Smile about them. Tell your children about them, your grandchildren. Keep that memory alive so much. It's what helps. I, honest to God, can tell you, it helped me through my grief. And even to this day, I still talk about my brother David like he's still here. I also know what it's like to help a family member who has lost a loved one and has experienced PTSD through grief. I know what that's like. That's now manifested into something far greater than PTSD. So I know what it's like to live with that too. So as much as I don't know what it's like to lose someone through suicide, I know what it's like to lose somebody, and to lose somebody through mental health. But I need you to know that we are here for you, and that your loved one was valued and loved. We honor and respect everybody who serves. You know, just because they died through suicide didn't mean that they were any less of a person than anybody else. They were an amazing person, full of heart, a protector's heart, one to protect communities and their loved ones. Hold dear to that. Irish Angel is here for you if you need any help at all. Please reach out to us. We're at www.irishangel.org. And I just need you to know that we're thinking of you this holiday season. Hold on in there. Keep them alive. Keep the memories alive. And keep the love flowing. Because it does help. If it's been a while since suicide or since the death, time does heal somewhat. But like I said, you need to keep their memories alive. I'm just thinking of you all. Thinking of you all this time of year. I'm sending you so much love from across here in Ireland. And I just want to say Nulak Shonadit, which means Merry Christmas in Irish. And send you Irish blessings. You guys mean the world to us. You're the ones that hold the line behind it all. You know, and you can't be forgotten about either, and you won't be. So I hope this Twilight Memorial helps in some way, and know that your loved ones were valued and loved. You take care and God bless. We're thinking of you all.
Hi, my name is Jessica Robledo, and this video will honor the life of Austin Police Officer Bruce Allen Medlicott, employee number 464. Bruce was commissioned July 25th, 1980, and honorably retired April 30th, 2006. Bruce was from St. Paul, Minnesota, and served in the United States Army. He attended rigorous Army Ranger training and successfully became an airborne ranger. Bruce had a solid work ethic, heart of a servant and a mentor, and was always striving to train others up and keep them safe. Bruce was well respected by his fellow officers. He took pride in his work, worked tirelessly to train his teammates and keep his community safe. Bruce was a lifelong learner and teacher, especially in the field of case law and law enforcement. Bruce worked patrol, narcotics, gang unit, and as he neared retirement, he became a district representative in the community service unit. We all knew that if you were lucky to call Bruce a friend, it meant he was a friend for life. Good, bad, or indifferent, you could count on him 24/7, 365. Bruce would give you the shirt off his back if you needed it. He had the heart of a lion and an undying loyalty. Knowing what he stood for made us all respect him even more. That's why, on May 9th, 2006, our world shattered when we found Bruce deceased inside his home. He died from a self-inflicted wound. Bruce was a brother. He was a friend. He was a son, an uncle, and he was loved by so many. You know, back in the day, no one talked about suicide and how it affects first responders. Asking for help was like a sign of weakness, and no one would dare highlight the devastation left behind when an officer took his own life. Working in heightened state of hypervigilance for so many years takes an enormous toll on first responders. First responders struggle with overwhelming stress at work, at home, often juggling odd work schedules, working extra jobs to make ends meet. They have a work-life imbalance. They suffer from depression. They have anxiety, PTSD, and sometimes addiction. Nowadays, it's compounded more with the defund movement and anti-police rhetoric. Smashing the stigma of suicide and changing the workplace culture by creating safe spaces to discuss mental health challenges, in addition to providing resources and supportive programs, is crucial to a first responder's mental well-being, and especially their resilience. You see, the goal of every first responder is to go home safe and ultimately retire so they can enjoy life with their loved ones. First responders need strong support systems from their communities, police administrators, local, state, and federal government. Asking for help should not be punitive. It should be encouraged. This Twilight Memorial Day video is a heartwarming gesture of honoring those we have lost along the way. It serves as a strong show of support and reminder that first responders do matter. It's a message that no one fights alone, and it's okay not to be okay. I know I speak for many. If you're struggling, remember it's okay to reach out. We would rather stay up all night talking to you versus not having you here. I want to thank Irish Angel Executive Director Amanda Coleman, who I can call a friend, for her undying support in honoring our Blue family. To Bruce, we love and miss you more than you will ever know. Rest in peace, brother.
My name is Darren Birch. I have a 30-year career in law enforcement. And unfortunately, starting in the very first month of my tour of duty, if you will, in 1986, we lost an officer. And the very last month of my career, in 2014, we lost an officer. And these deaths, so tragic, these fallen officers, but the blood is on the hands of the criminal, the monster who shot them, stabbed them, killed them. Sadly, more officers are dying from suicide than they are in the line of duty. And unfortunately, I have more of those officers. I think blood is on my hands. Could I have seen something? Should I have reached out? The beautiful thing about Irish Angels is that it provides a conduit, many different conduits, for those in need who may not reach out, who may not say something to a brother or sister in law enforcement. We need to support Irish Angels and stop losing brothers and sisters from suicide.
Hi, I'm Greg Demetrio. I'm a retired detective from New York City and a member of the Irish Angel. I come to you asking you today at 4:15 to participate in the Twilight moment of silence in honor and respect for all those that we've lost by suicide. The demons win sometimes, and we can't allow ourselves to forget that, in my mind, the suicides are line of duty injuries. They only come when the demons get control. And our job is to help the demons not get control. So please remember 4:15, moment of silence, and remember all those we've lost. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vaughn Kleem, the Director of the Consulting Division for the Force Science Institute and an advisory board member for Irish Angel. I want to take a few moments to honor those who have committed their lives to selfless service, but that we ultimately lost to suicide. I want to honor them by first finding meaning in their suffering, hearing what it was. Many of them were trying to tell us that they were exhausted, they were uncertain of what tomorrow might bring, let alone next week or next year, that they felt alone, and that they were failing to meet their own sometimes very high and impossible standards. I want to honor them by sharing that message to those who have been left behind. I want to share that when you are not alone, or when you feel alone, that we're here. And I want to share that we are all perfectly imperfect, and that when you're scared and you're lonely or you're anxious, when you can't predict your future, we've all been there and we've survived it, and we've come out the other side much stronger. Want to share that suicide is often a permanent solution to very temporary problems, no matter how overwhelming it might feel in the moment, and that we want you to reach out. We encourage you to just pick up the phone, call us, and trust us that we'll listen. And I want to honor them by being available. Sometimes it just takes listening. Sometimes it takes sleeping on the couch of a friend who's just exhausted and needs to know they're safe and they can let their guard down, and we can provide them that little bit of respite. Sometimes it even means just sleeping on the floor next to their bed when they don't want to be alone. And that includes some of our toughest friends and toughest family members who just need to feel that it's okay to be vulnerable. And so I would just thank Irish Angel for giving us an opportunity to reach out, to honor those who, again, live their lives in service to others. And to those who are suffering now, please reach out to us. We're here. Thank you.
Hey everyone, Joe Collins here. I retired after 35 years in law enforcement, and during that 10 years, I ran the law enforcement death response team in the state of Wisconsin. During that time, we helped agencies and family members with dozens of suicides as it related to law enforcement and the first responder community. There was great grief and hurt and pain. Leaving loved ones behind who truly love you is not the solution. There is hope. There are many organizations out there willing to assist you with whatever you need. Please reach out. It's okay not to be okay with the struggles and the trauma and the different situations that you face on a daily basis. It's okay. Reach out.
Good morning. My name is Hiram Figueroa, and I'm from LinkedIn. I'm a United States Marine, and I support nonprofit organizations as well. Today we're talking about the veteran suicide, but we also want to talk about law enforcement, first responder suicide as well. You know that during the holidays, not only the veterans suffer from it, but law enforcement and first responders as well. think about that when you're talking to law enforcement, because they have a life of their own. They have families, they have kids, they have a personal life, they have their own issues also. They're a public service to the community. If you know a law enforcement officer or first responder who is having a difficult time, reach out to them and pay respect, because they're putting their lives to protect you. So simplify, always beside you. Support the Irish Angel and support Amanda Coleman. Thank you. Peace out.
Hi, my name is Joy Hersher. I'm a former police officer and a supporter and a part of Irish Angel. We lose too many. There's a lot of first responders, a lot of military veterans who are in a position to where they don't believe that there is recovery. The demons in their head are so loud that they don't believe that there is a different path, a different outcome than taking their lives. And my heart breaks for them and for their families, because 2017 I had a suicide attempt myself, and so I know what those folks, those heroes, were thinking when they made that decision. And I was wrong, and so were they, and it breaks my heart. But that doesn't take away from the people that they were. This is a tribute to all those who lost the battle with their demons. And this is a plea for anyone who is battling demons to reach out, to ask someone for help, and to don't go at it alone. You know, you'd be willing to help someone else, so allow us to help you.
Hello, my name is Scott Mingus, and I'm a retired police officer for over 30 years of service. I retired at the rank Assistant Chief, which gave me a lot of information to provide to the officers under my command. I am now part of the Irish Angel organization, and I couldn't be more honored to be able to have the opportunity, the possibility of helping at least one person with their struggles. I challenge you today, the chiefs, the sheriffs, the command staffs, and even the rookies. If you hear something, bring it up to somebody. We had an officer that committed suicide, and it totally caught us off guard. I do not wish that on any agency. Irish Angel provides so much care and support. Please reach out if you need anything. I thank Twilight for bringing this suicide awareness to everyone today. I look forward to a Merry Christmas and even a happier New Year. And I thank you for your service. God bless.
Hi everyone, my name is Judy Johnley. I'm a parent of a police officer and a police dispatcher. I also work in the mental health field, so I hear a lot of things and see a lot of things. I know everybody's struggling these days and it's very hard. I just want you to know the Irish Angels are here to coordinate care for you, to get you the services you need. Every first responder, servicemen and women, they just need to reach out. So it's just important. Please talk about whatever's going on. If you see somebody struggling, talk to them and get them to talk. It's very important. We're in this together and nobody's alone in this. And it's okay to not be okay. So please reach out to anyone, to us. Thank you. Stay safe.
Hi everybody, my name is Dan Russo and I am a retired DEA special agent and I'm also a retired Army Reserve officer, and I'd like to thank everybody for what they do, whether you're in the business of law enforcement or support those who do. Thank you. What you do matters. In my 35 years experience with suicide, I've learned that those people that have reached that point where they feel like suicide is a solution are reluctant to call. And so my message today is to everybody else. Don't wait for that call. Engage people about this subject. Phone somebody when you think they're down. Have a conversation with them. Stop by and be there for them. And if they reach out to you, make sure you're there for them. Okay? And I'm there for you. If anybody ever needs me, call. I'll be there.
To all the families that have lost a loved one, I just want to tell you how grateful we are for the service of your loved one. Working as a chaplain in law enforcement, I see firsthand the impact it has on families. And I just pray for you, for your family, that you find comfort knowing that the rest of us are able to live our lives because of the sacrifice of your loved one. We are truly blessed, and I'm truly grateful and thankful for your family, for those that you love and you have lost. And I just pray that God's comfort will give you peace in this time. And thank you. There's no words that are good enough, but I know Jesus says, no greater love has one than to lay down their life for another. So we just say thank you, God bless you, and just know we're for you. Bye.
We're here today to honor the fallen, those who have suffered from PTSD and the struggles that they face. We're here about Irish angels and suicide prevention. When I returned home after serving 2 tours in Vietnam, there was nobody there that could help me. Nobody there that I could reach out to. Nobody there that cared. Please, if you're struggling, call Irish Angels. They're here to help. They care. I know because we have been there.
My name is Brian Fleming. I'm a retired Boston police sergeant. 2.5 years on the job, I held a gun to my head with my finger on the trigger thinking it was the only way out. I truly believed that. Why I didn't pull the trigger, I don't know. But I thank God that I didn't. Through a series of events, I got help. That was over 36 years ago. My life since then, I had lost the job because of alcohol and drug abuse and got my job back. Got promoted. Served on the SWAT team as a supervisor and operator. Department range master, academy instructor, and director of the peer support unit, the unit I walked into 25 years prior. If you're thinking of suicide, I'm going to tell you something right now. You are not thinking straight. The moment that you think about suicide, you have to talk to someone you trust, because there is enough confidential resources out there right now where we can get you help. You don't have to worry about losing your gun or anything like that, your job, whatever. To the people who have lost others through suicide, they didn't die in vain. Because of their sacrifice, we today have many more resources across the country. And this stigma has been brought out of the shadows so that we can keep officers from thinking that's their only resource and their only end. It isn't. We can help. Just give us a chance.
Hello, Irish Angel. This is Officer Matt Thornton here in Chicagoland. Just wanted to send some encouragement out to everyone listening here. I'm a veteran police officer, 18 years, but for 8 of those years, I struggled heavily with suicide and depression, and was a near miss. And I'm glad I'm still here. But this is not about me. This is about families and other people who are survivors of suicide. I know all about what you're going through, especially this time of year. Christmas is really tough. I started a nonprofit, and it's for youth. It's an outreach that takes kids off the street of my city and offers them hope and a place to be loved. And I have my favorite member of all time. His name was Tyree. Great kid. This kid was born in Chicago, Illinois. Didn't have any parents. His mother abandoned him. His father wasn't there. He was left at the hospital. He was left there for 2 weeks. And he was adopted by a foster mother who took him in. And she died when he was 3 years old. So he really never knew what a parent was. I found him in my city. He was basically living on his own, selling cannabis to make a living and just to make ends meet. And I took him in. I brought him as part of my organization. And eventually, over time, he became what would be what I would consider my adopted son and my best friend. Come in, we baptized him, we showed him life, we showed him love, and life was great. Felt like we saved him. One thing about Tyree was he kept all his feelings inside, so on the outside, we thought he was doing so well, but little did we know that he wasn't talking about his mental state, his pain. He kept it all bottled in, and I'm not sure why he never chose to tell me about it. And on April 13th of 2019, I got the worst phone call that I ever got in my life, and Tyree took his own life. Now, this was a total shock to me. And he had never said one word. He knew what I went through, and he actually helped and kept me on my feet during hard times. And he never once spoke about what was hurting him. So I'm grieving still. It's been 2 years, and I'm still going through that process of grieving. And I wanted to let the families know, the surviving families, that you're not alone. That we're here. This is why organizations like this are here for you. We'll cry with you. We'll walk with you. And we'll encourage and talk about this enough to prevent this from happening to more families. We love you, and that's why Amanda has got the heart of an angel. She is a true angel, and we love and appreciate you. So this group will save lives. I promise you that. And that's why we're here. We want to inspire and just prevent any more Tyrees from happening. So I love you guys.
As this is the shortest day of the year, we remember the lives of our brothers and sisters that were cut far too short. It is with a heavy heart that I share with you the eulogy of a police suicide filled with pathos and emotion. The name I use is not the actual name of the unfortunate individual. Today is a sad day, and it is fitting and proper that we should grieve for John because sorrow is a measure of the love we shared with the one who is gone. In a way, we grieve for ourselves because we know that our own lives will never be quite the same without John. As a police community, we shall miss him immensely, and the sorrow we feel is huge. A gentle man, a kind man, a man who reached out to help others, a man with the warmest of hearts. We are hurting, all of us, and yet we know that our pain is nothing as it was to John and his family. I look at John's wife, children, and siblings. I look at all his friends, and there are no easy words to make sense of this. There is a jagged hole, as if part of ourselves has been ripped away. There is no denying the pain of departing and the darkness of grief. John knew well those dark places. John was acquainted with despair and suffered immensely from severe depression, struggling with it alone, and suffered in body, mind, and spirit. Some of us know that John hadn't been himself in a while. When you sink into a deep depression, it seems next to impossible to find a way out. And the fact that you have a wonderful spouse and a loving family can actually make your mood lower. Because with such support, with these people around you, your depression can seem even less comprehensible and even irrational, not just to others but to yourself. You feel helpless and as if there's nothing that you can do. You feel a burden to your loved ones. Tragically, the guilt deepens and the shame spreads, and you find yourself in a dark and dangerous place. Some of you won't recognize John from this description because he was a man who brought sunshine into a room. He was generally so warm, so bubbly, and he never showed it in a forced sort of way. So friends, if you are John and think you're fooling others, trust me, you are only fooling yourself, and more important, you cannot do it yourself. There is no shame. So please reach out and give yourself a chance before it's too late. Call someone, a trusted friend, anyone. Get help. May John's death not have been in vain, and may the Almighty grant him peace and serenity, and may his memory be for a blessing. Amen.
At 16:15 hours today, the shortest day of the year, in remembrance of all police officers whose lives were cut short due to suicide, PTSD, and related behavioral health issues, we observe 1 minute of silence. Concludes our 1 minute of silence in remembrance of those we have lost. Thank you. WQCC 506 clear.